This is one of those mods that I think will get at least some of you to start a new playthrough in Fallout New Vegas. And it's really probably the closest we could come to a New Vegas DLC in the vision of the original developers of Obsidian in 2020. As what we're taking a look at today is simply Uncut New Vegas. And as the title suggests, what this mod will do is restore some of the previously cut content or just content found in the files of Fallout New Vegas in a fully working and fleshed out state. So now there's going to be several new weapons, NPCs, and even locations/quests for you to explore and complete. And one of the particularly nice aspects of this mod team definitely has a focus on being lore friendly. They tried to incorporate all of this content in a very natural and realistic way, and it definitely shows while playing it. So now for some of you, you might be like, wait, didn't this happen already? Or this sounds really familiar. And that may be true because back a year and a half ago in 2018, they actually released Simply Uncut for Fallout 3. I'm going to have my video linked down below or in the little eye if you guys do want to check that out. Although do note that since that video, it actually has received a year of updates, so there's quite a bit of additional content in the live version now. But this is actually really cool for two main reasons. One, I mean, of course it's cut content. A lot of stuff that was meant to be there and as such feels very natural in New Vegas to begin with. But separately, they did a really good job at actually implementing some of these pieces or fragments of content in a more complete or fleshed out way. Take for example, one of the extreme examples, there was an NCR Helmet. It likely would have had a larger use, so they actually built an entire new NCR Flame Trooper to go along with that helmet, and now you may find these throughout the Mojave. They're very explicit in their post in what is direct from the game files and what they actually created themselves, but all around it creates this really cool experience of what feels like a natural Fallout New Vegas DLC. And that's kind of the pitch for it. In the rest of this video, I'll show you some of my favorite examples from it. This mod does bring quite a wide variety of additional weapons into Fallout New Vegas. A decent chunk of these are actually just things from Fallout 3 that seemingly were planned to be in the game at one point, but never actually made its way in. Some iconics like the Chinese assault rifle, or even the regular assault rifle or combat shotgun. One nice thing about a lot of these weapons is, with some of the new locations in the game added by this mod, it'll integrate these weapons into them. So you'll find them just by looting, you don't have to worry about spawning them in or anything weird like that. But of course, there also is some cut content that is now restored. Things like stun grenades that other mods have implemented, but now you have the raw or Obsidian official version, a Deathclaw Gauntlet that somewhat was integrated through DLC, but now you just have the normal, non-unique one. And some pretty interesting new melee items, an axe, which is kind of just a run-of-the-mill axe, but also a vertibird blade. Initially meant to be an item that was literally the blade of a vertibird repurposed for combat. Those are just a few of the examples. There's some others that were meant to be used with certain NPCs, but where this mod really starts to shine is in some of the new locations and interactions you can have via them. In one of the NCR camps, you can find a super mutant that was meant to be a part of the NCR and does look hilarious with his little hat, but also here you can find a couple of new NCR privates. This will give you a fully voiced quest that is pretty simple, a dispute between the two, and you have some decisions as to how you want to resolve it.
If that's your idea of a joke, I'm not laughing. What am I gonna do?
It's relatively minor, but definitely a nice little attention to detail, without a doubt making this particular camp a lot more interesting. Many locations are a bit more fleshed out. You'll find quite a few additional members of the NCR and just NPCs in general all throughout the strip, and particularly in Gomorrah. And kind of a funny one, but on several of the roofs throughout the Mojave, you'll find some new inhabitants on them doing some various or interesting things. And there's also a new feature with some of the inhabitants of Gomorrah that I can't get too explicit about. There's two new vaults added in with this, and I would say these are particularly cool. They're not thrown in your face, they're very much so implemented like some of the other vaults that you may just stumble upon while venturing. For both of these, they integrated their own take on a vault experiment because in the files or the lore thus far, nothing was known. And I would say both of them are very Fallout. In particular, the way you find Vault 74 is definitely something that would have happened in New Vegas, and honestly, if I didn't know better, I would think it was always there. Vault 24 is a little bit smaller, a little bit more obscure, but just again, another nice addition. There's quite a few additional options when it comes to the NCR Correctional Facility. If you help the NCR take this back from the Powder Gangers, they'll now actually be prison guards that patrol with their own custom armor. But even further, there's a new jail cell added here. So in some of the other NCR related quests, when you actually take certain characters prisoner, they will show up at this jail. But only if the NCR owns it, otherwise they're going to go to a new Camp McCarran jail. Which, speaking of, the vendor at Camp McCarran also now is a thing, a new NPC placed there that you can trade with. Although separately, if you do decide to help the powder gangers in this venture, there's actually some new NPCs and separate occurrences on that side also. There's some changes to the people you'll find throughout New Vegas by default. Some of the items in the game that typically weren't super fleshed out in the level list will now appear more often. Things like BB guns or fists that were mentioned as showing up but didn't actually show up in practice, and even the NCR will have a lot more diversity in what they carry. Some won't be as well equipped, despite basically every single one you find in game actually having a fully functioning service rifle. So now with this, there will be some changes around that also. At times you may find some of the NCR troopers to have lesser equipment. There's a couple of new settlements placed throughout the game. These aren't super impactful, sometimes you'll find a few interesting NPCs, which, speaking of, a new NPC with Ruby was also added that does have some interesting dialogue, as well as some secrets to uncover around her. This mod also does come with support for another New Vegas cut content mod that with the Freeside open patch, naturally adding a ton of cut content back into Freeside. This builds upon that by actually adding in even more in the way of cut NPCs and other things that would have just fit in there. And really, all of that is just a brief overview of what this mod adds in. There's definitely a lot more in other minor locations, quests, or NPCs, little unique interactions like some NPCs helping out other NPCs at certain junctions, or even occasionally some additional options during certain quests. All in all, it's actually a really cool one, quite a bit of additional content, and definitely warranting of a new playthrough of New Vegas. It's one of those mods that you'll start to see all throughout the game as you progressively play it. And also, considering nowadays with just a few mods on PC, you can get New Vegas into a very stable and even a decent looking state like you're seeing in the background right now, I would say it's a great time to actually do this, or even you could go the more extreme route using some of the mod lists that are provided by the Wabbajack tool. Either way, I hope you found this video informative. I will have links down below to the mod itself or the Fallout 3 version and video. As always, again, I thank you for watching and I hope to see you all next time. Later.